Hey, church. From our earliest days as a new congregation, we were looking for ways to serve the world beyond our own doors. So from early on, we committed to give 10% of our weekly offerings to the wider ministries of our denomination. We joined John Shaw in his work on the Navajo Nation Reservation and rehabbing homes of the elderly Navajo there. We joined Habitat for Humanity early on. Bob Willauer first led our efforts at building homes. Following the mass shooting at Columbine High School, we partnered with other congregations to see how we might be a help in our local schools if a catastrophe ever hit in one of our schools. And ever since, Pam Deal has led our congregation's participation in Faith Volunteers in Poudre schools, where we volunteer with Laurel Elementary. Then one of our kids, I call him kids, Brent Anderson, a student at Texas Christian University, a disciple school, he was serving as a summer intern with our outreach team. I'll let Brett and others tell you about our ministries with the unhoused through the Faith Housing Network.
I spent the summer basically helping Heart of the Rockies with a variety of projects. One of those projects was to basically look into what it would look like to bring Angel House to Heart of the Rockies. Angel House, it was great for keeping families together. Ultimately, it was the people that made it happen, right? The building is obviously important, but you needed a whole team, the entire congregation, to come together and do all the support that was needed for it.
When everybody does a little bit, or a lot of people do a little bit, it turns out to be a really well-run week.
We had to collect a lot of donations right at the start, and people really just turned up for that, donating bedding and toiletries and foods, meals, and their time to get started.
One of the things I like best about the way we do FFH is that Plymouth and Heart of the Rockies and American Baptist Church people all work together, and you don't even really know who's from where.
It was very ecumenical from the start, seeing the broader faith community come together and work together on a really important cause.
It's really hard on families to move every week. That is really hard for families to get their belongings together and to go to a new home every week.
Sherwood House is one of the legs of the Family Housing Network, and it's intended to be a transitional house for homeless families, up to 7 families at a time. It acquired an old housing complex from the city.
It was 2 houses put together. The idea was to have lots of families sharing space for meal preparation and living rooms and things like that. But then the big change from Faith Family Hospitality was that each family would have 2 bedrooms, one for the parents and one for the kids, which was really a nice upgrade from all the whole family staying in one Sunday school room for a week.
And they could stay there for up to 6 months.
Yeah, so no going from church to church anymore.
The first project was to rip the deck off the outside, and it was an old rotten deck. And we started filling up a dumpster, and about 6 dumpsters later, we were finished.
I know, I was wondering how many dumpsters there were.
Originally, the volunteer crew was only going to do demolition, and we were slated to get that done in a few months anyway. At some point in time, so this project had, there was a demand for it immediately, but the money just wasn't ever there. And so it drug out for months and months and months. And the longer it drug out, the more we got pulled in to do things other than demolition.
Jack's famous phrase, because we'd be measuring and trying to put drywall in, and he would say, "We're not building pianos here," which I never quite got, but I figured that must be really complicated.
Very precise.
But he'd look at Gordon's work and he'd say, "Yeah, I guess he's building pianos." Whether Sue was there or not, she had been through the house And she would look at the work and she'd mark everything that needed to be touched up or redone with a little wedge of blue tape.
She had a design that was suitable for any of our homes.
Yeah.
And she expected the work to be done to that quality.
And so you could walk around the house and just see, okay, that's something we got to look into. And there had to be 50 to 75 pieces of tape.
Every week.
Every week, yeah. And some of them stayed up for a long time.
Yep.
I think some of them came down and then went back up because it wasn't done well.
Lots of good times and
Yeah.
lots of good sweat equity that went into
Oh,
it
boy.
to provide those families with housing. And
Yep.
that was always the motivation, was at the end of the day, 7 families were gonna not have to be living out of their cars.